Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a terrifying upload to share with you. A subscriber wants to share 2 encounters from her youth. Before we get into that, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. They are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Alright, so tonight I have Trista with us, and she is from PA. How are you doing tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for taking some time out of your night to share with me. You've got 2 pretty creepy encounters that you've had happen to you. I appreciate you coming on and sharing them with us. I'm going to turn the floor over to you so you can share those with us. And
Okay.
if I have any questions, I'll just interrupt briefly.
All right. That works. Okay. So I'm from PA. I grew up in PA. And when I was younger, because I lived in like a valley, so there were lots of fields, lots of farms, lots of woods. We were surrounded by mountains. And it was really quiet there. So we would always, as kids, sleep outside all the time. Like, we'd always go camping, whatever. And our favorite thing to do would be to sleep out on our trampoline at night. Like, it was, it was so cool to us, whatever. And we did it a lot, almost every weekend. And so this one night we were sleeping out there, and it was me and my stepsister, and we were both young. I was probably only like 13, maybe 14 at the time. And she's like 4 years younger than me or so. So we were out there sleeping, and our yard, the way our yard was, it was like there was trees on the whole like other sides, right? So like the house is on the one side, let's say it's a big square, the house on the one side, and then trees on the other side surrounding the house, the yard. And a Rottweiler, and he was at the end of the yard, the back of the yard, and he was in like a fence cage thing, with like dog house stuff, because he liked to be outside in the summertime. And there were trees like around his thing, and whatever, and above it, and so we had lots of shade and stuff. And there was also a fence, because we had a neighbor that was behind us, and there was a fence that blocked our yards from each other. And so the one night we're out there sleeping, my sister and I, and my dog starts going nuts, and he's barking, and woke me up, and I was kind of like, "What, Caesar? What are you barking at? Like, what is going on?" And like, kind of like roll over, and I like, start opening my eyes, and the first thing I see, like, I kind of like trails over, like across the trampoline, and I see like these hands like holding on to the metal around that, the trampoline, where the springs go, because our trampoline we had the trampoline for so long that it didn't have the actual like padding or whatever to cover the springs.
Right. And
there was like this big black thing just standing there, and it was like it was sniffing at us, like trying. I don't know. Like, it reminded me of a dog sniffing, but like really deep sniffing sounds. And I didn't really know. I was kind of like, what am I looking at? And it was like my stepsister and I were sleeping like kind of like feet to feet. You know what I mean? Like, her feet were at my head, and my feet were kind of at her head. And so it was down by her head, down by my feet. And I remember I started like, I was really scared. I didn't know what I was looking at. I thought it was a man at first. And I grabbed her, and kind of like, I was like, I closed my eyes, and I was like shaking. I was like, wake up. And like, we just kind of tumbled off the trampoline and ran. And went inside, and at the same time as that happened, this thing had turned and run away too. But like, you know, we were running away, so I didn't see it run away right, you know, where it went. And we ran in the house and woke my mom and my stepdad up. And I was like, "There's a man outside. There's a man. He was looking at the trampoline, like he was holding on the trampoline. He was looking at us, and blah blah blah, you know." And so my stepdad grabs the gun and the flashlight and stuff, and we go outside. He tells me to stay inside, but I was worried about the dog. And so I was like, "No, what if he gets my dog?" You know, freaking out about the dog. And follow him outside, and we get down to where, and he was like, "Well, where to?" And I was like, "He was right there. He was standing right there. It was standing right there. I don't know what it was. It was big and black." And I said, "I think it went that way." And my dog, he was hiding in, like when we got down to the dog pen, he was in his dog house, tucked the whole way up in the back, cowering, like laying down, like all cowered up in the back, curled up back there. And he was whining and like whimpering real softly. And it was like a complete change to what he was just doing like 3 minutes prior to that or whatever, you know, because he was going nuts, like barking and like kind of like aggressively barking, like trying to like wake us up or something. I don't know. And my stepdad's he's shining the flashlight around, and he caught some movement or something in the tree, or heard the tree rustle, and puts the flashlight on. There's a big black mass up in the tree, and it was like kind of sitting like, it was like almost just hiding its face, like it didn't want us to see it, like I thought it was hiding, like he thought we couldn't see it or something. But it was kind of sitting like a monkey would sit, like kind of squatted down, crouched down. But this tree wasn't huge, and so this thing looked super big in this tree, but like it was almost natural the way it looked in the tree. Like it wasn't, I don't know, like my husband was like, "Oh, you know, it must have been a bear. Maybe it was a raccoon." Like this thing was way too big to be a raccoon. And it was just like, I don't know. I don't think a bear, like I've seen bears in trees, and they kind of sit like that. They kind of sprawl out and hold on to the tree, you know?
Yeah, they grip the trunk of the tree when they're up there.
Yeah. And this thing was just kind of sitting there, and like it almost like it was like hiding its head, like it didn't want us to see it or something. I don't know. And my stepdad was just like, "All right, let's just get in the house." And like he was trying to every excuse as to what it was. Like I remember, like he was like, "Oh, you know, it was a bear," or "Oh, maybe it was a raccoon or something." I'm like, "No, it was standing there. Like I think it had hands. Like it had hands around the thing." And that, like, and he was like, "Well, if it was a bear, you know, it didn't have hands." And I'm like, he's like, "Well, a bear could have been standing next to it." I was like, "A bear is not going to be holding on." Like I was like, I couldn't figure it out. He couldn't figure it out. He said maybe it was a guy in a ghillie suit. Like, but like, why would a guy in a ghillie suit be like watching two little girls on a trampoline,
yeah,
you know, while they're sleeping?
You and I had talked about this. Like you shared this with me, and you know, like, okay, if it's a bear, it's going to be gripping. And your dad's a hunter, like, so your stepdad's a hunter. So if a bear is in your tree, or a dude in a ghillie suit, like, you're gonna do something as a man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so, and he didn't want anything to do with it. He just wanted us to go right back in the house.
Right.
Which I thought was a little odd too, because we knew where it was, and I remember I kept saying, like, I was worried about the dog. I was like, "Well, what about Caesar? What about Caesar? What's gonna happen to the dog?" You know, like he's like, "Oh, the dog will be fine. The dog will take care of himself," and the dog was fine.
Right.
But when we came back out in the morning, I think he was in his doghouse all night. He did not leave that doghouse.
Huh.
But
yeah,
you know,
just crazy.
And there was nothing there in the morning. But
just when we talked earlier about this, it was just, you know, and then you said my dad thought it was a guy, or made the excuse. And, you know, who knows? Maybe he saw something in the woods prior to this. Maybe he knew, hey, shit, these things are in my yard now. You know, like, I don't want to scare my family, but I don't know how to deal with this. You know, like, if it was a guy in a ghillie suit or a bear, the logical thing to do would be to call the police.
Yeah, and none of that was done.
Right.
No calling. And here's another thing. That tree, I don't know how a guy would have climbed that tree, because it was like probably, I'd say the first branch was maybe 12 to 15 feet in the air. How are you going to like shimmy up the tree? You know what I mean? In a ghillie suit? How are you going to do that? I don't know. I don't think it was a guy in a ghillie suit, but I mean,
definitely not.
It was, you know, he was trying, I think he was maybe trying to just calm us down or something. I don't know. But I don't know. Like you said, maybe he was just trying to like figure out what it was he saw. Maybe he had already seen something like that before.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't know what it was. I don't know. It was. It was something that I think I repressed for a really long time. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anybody about it. And then, like I heard a story, and it kind of just brought everything back. And then I even had to verify with my mom to like, hey, did this really happen? Because I was like, did I make it up? Did I dream this or something? Your mind plays tricks on you. And I was like, no, I remember that night. I remember, you guys being terrified and him going out with a gun and you following him out and him saying it was probably just a bear or, maybe I saw a person or,
right.
There was no answer to it. And my mom was like, she was like, I kind of then didn't think anything of it, and then until recently when I brought it back up and then she was like putting two to two together and she was like, what if you saw something that, you shouldn't have, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think your mom and you suppressed it. I honestly, the way your stepdad handled the situation, I think, obviously he was protective because he went out with a gun, he wasn't afraid. And if it was a guy, you know what I mean? But I think when he saw it in the tree and as a hunter being out in the woods, I think maybe he knew, he might not have known exactly what it was, but I think he knew at that point, hey, shit, it's time I just shut my mouth. We'll go back in the house and it'll be gone in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't want to be labeled as a crazy guy. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to shut up and we're going to leave it alone and it'll be gone and, life will move on. So, yeah, that's insane. When you shared that one part with me, because we had been talking for a while and you said, my dad with a ghillie suit. And I was like, wait a second. I'm like, but he went out with a gun. I'm like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Well,
so,
and he was not the type of person to not even be he would shoot off that gun if he needed to. You know what I mean? He was not the type of person to not have a gun and not use.
Right. I mean,
he would have used
obviously
it.
He's going out with it. He's going to use it. He's not afraid to take it outside. So, it's just, I think, in my opinion of the whole thing, I think that he kind of had an inkling of, not that it was a Dogman or whatever, but he knew something was not right, and I think he just wanted to close the door and kind of leave it be, and let's leave it be and just forget about it, because that's what, as adults tend to do shit like that. We just
and we didn't sleep out on the trampoline anymore after that. That was the end of that. We never did that anymore. That was the end of that.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever actually, come to think of it, I don't think I ever slept in that backyard again, not even in the tent. So, our family owned a mountain, so we did a lot of camping, but we also had campers up there that were up there full time, so it was kind of like a home away from home. We had electricity, water, everything.
Yeah.
So, I would go camping up there, but it was different. You know what I mean? It was not like I didn't feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like I did in my own backyard.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You had a terrifying moment there. So you had a second creepy encounter that started with a friend of yours. You guys went and saw a movie, right?
Yeah. So I was back in the day, I was real into ghosts and paranormal and ghost hunting and stuff like that, and so when The Omen came out, which, The Exorcist was one of my favorite movies. It still is. And I like creepy stuff, whatever. And so when The New Omen came out on 2006, we were like, oh, we're going to go see that movie, And we were so excited. So we went to the midnight showing of it. And the whole way home, it had been raining that day. And so everything was really foggy and creepy, and it was 3:00 in the morning by the time we were done. And we were I was messing with her, and I was like, oh, what if we see, a dog or whatever? What if we, just trying to freak her out, whatever. And So we get back to our house and we decide we're going to go to like Denny's or whatever and for coffee because they were open 24 hours a day at that time. And so we leave her house and we're both kind of on edge after that movie anyway. And I had her more on edge because I was just saying stuff to scare her. And we come around this corner and there's a freaking dog sitting in the middle of the road. Sitting in the middle of the road. Excuse me, sitting. It was not standing. It was sitting in the middle of the road. And this road was like a mountain road, so it was like, big and like an oversized one-way road, like not a two-lane road, big enough that you could put two cars on it, but one of them, you're kind of going to be off in the dirt on the off road each car that you go by, But like we come around this turn and we're in the middle of the woods and it's foggy, and coming off this mountain and we come around this turn, there's this black dog sitting in the road. And I guess the only way to describe it is it kind of looked like Anubis. But not like, okay, Anubis in the point of like the ear, right? Because it had these tall ears like a German Shepherd, like how their ears are, but not like the long snout. Like I think Anubis kind of has a long snout like a Doberman. It didn't have a long snout. It looked more like just a black German Shepherd, I guess, but like it had very big ears. I remember that. And it was just sitting there and it was not moving at all. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this one of your neighbor's dogs? Like, what's going on? Like, who has this dog? And she's like, dude, my neighbor's like 2 miles away. It's not their dog. She's like, don't. And I'm like, she's like, no, don't get closer. Don't get closer. I'm like, well, I don't want it to get hit by a car. And I'm like, well, should we see if it has a collar? And she's like, no. And we're like looking, I don't see a collar on it. You couldn't see anything on it. It was just solid black. And, I was going to get closer to it. I was like, well, should we just drive around it? Should I see if I can get it off the road? Like, I kept saying I don't want to get hurt. Cause I'm an animal lover. And, I would feel bad if I came back that way and that dog was laying on the side of the road dead because I didn't do something about it, Right. And she's like, don't you dare, do not open that door. Like, she was really freaking out. She was like screaming at me. And she's like, do not, she's like, turn around and go back home now. And I was like, what is your problem? I couldn't figure out the problem in it. I just wanted to make sure the dog was okay. And so I was like, okay, I gave in and I was like, all right. Like I had even beat the horn at this dog and this dog did not move. The only thing it did was twitch its ear a little bit when I beat the horn. It was not afraid of the car, nothing. Like just sat there in the middle of the road, blocking the road. And so I did like a 3-point turn and, like when you do 3-point turn, you back up, on the road. And like, so I'm looking in my rearview mirror and the fucking dog just disappeared. It was just gone that fast. I could see it the whole time until I looked in my rearview and then it was gone. Just gone. So we get back to our house and, we tell her mom in the next morning, we're like, oh my gosh, we saw this big black dog just put in the neighborhood. And her mom's like, you guys didn't see anything. There was nothing there. Like, she didn't believe us,
Right.
But I don't know. I still don't know what we saw to this day. I don't know if it's a hellhound. I don't know if because I was messing with her so bad and like saying, like after seeing that movie and it was 666 and da-da-da, and I was messing with her and saying like, oh, what if we see this dog or what if we do this? I don't know if I like open myself up to something, like I know people believe in that too. And, I mean, since then, like I told you, like I really kind of closed my energies off so that way, and my home off because I have a 4-year-old, but, I still don't know what I saw to this day. I don't know if it was a Dogman. I don't know if it was it didn't have, like you said, a lot of hellhound reports say the hellhounds have like, these dogs have it did not have glowing eyes.
Right.
It didn't.
Yeah. Like when you said that, when you were talking to me, as like the glowing red eyes, there was no glowing red eyes. But as we were talking about the experience, the account with the ambulance drivers popped into my head, and I was like, I'm like, that's, because you, being an animal lover, you looked for a collar, which is what those guys did. It was a very black, large dog. And it could have been a Dogman. It could have been a hellhound. But for some reason, the ambulance encounter with the two guys just kind of struck me. And, as you were doing your 3-point turn, maybe it just said, shit, these guys aren't going the right way. They're going back, and it hopped off into the woods because, who knows if it would have disappeared when you opened the door, or if you would have disappeared if you opened the door.
Yeah.
So.
Well, now that you say that, that makes me think, like, was there more than one and we just didn't see the other ones?
Yeah. You know,
because that ambulance one, that dog, that one Dogman uses itself basically for the other one.
Yeah, there was like 5.
As a distraction.
Yeah, there was like 5. There was two in the back, 1 in the side, and I think 2 in the front. They think 4 or 5. But, it could have been the distraction sitting right in the middle of the road. Hey, check this out, Look at me, I'm a big dog.
Yeah.
But, it could have been a hellhound too, like you said. Like, you opened it up and by talking about these things. But, I don't know. For me, just, it just sounds so like, hey, this is a distractive measure. And with all of, like, these, accounts lately with the people just, the doctor in Georgia or, in Beaufort County, North Carolina, people have been, especially with the doctor in Georgia, she was found outside of her car door open, and,
yeah.
It's just a strange thing. But that for some reason it resonates with me that I think it may have been a Dogman. Just.
Yeah. Now, now that you say it, I don't know. It really is. Now I'm going to freak me out a little bit more because now I'm like, what would have happened? What would have happened if I didn't stick around? What would have happened if I would have tried to pass that dog? Or what if I would have gotten out? Because you know what I mean? Like, because, I can't tell you how many times that I've been on the road, if I see a dog, I'll pull over and be like, come on, are you, do you have a home? Do you have a collar? What's going on? Like, to try to get it off the road,
right,
Right. And, I don't know I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. There could have been more around the car, and I didn't even see them. Because we're on a mountain road. There's mountains on either side of us, and we were coming around a turn, so you can't see past that turn. It's all mountains, basically.
Yeah.
You're just seeing woods.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. Maybe and it was pitch dark that night. But and like I said, that it was really odd, and what makes me think maybe it was a distraction. Now that you're saying that, because I beat the horn at this thing, and it did not move. Most dogs would have moved off the road or something.
Yeah.
This thing just sat there and stared at me. Like, it did not move. It just stared at us, stared at the car. It twitched its ear when I beat, and that was it. And I didn't beat. I was like, beep, 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 like trying to get it to move. And it was not going anywhere until I turned around, and then it was gone. And it was like, it was gone. And like, I feel like it was like a split second. Like, I didn't look. I saw it, turned, went to look out the other mirror, and it was gone. Like, that fast.
Yeah. Well,
like one
said,
off the road or something.
Road. Like you said, it was a small road. Mountain roads are usually like 1.5 lane roads, or 1 3/4. They're not a full 2 lane. And a Dogman, all these accounts of Dogmen, hopping over 2 lane, 4 lane roads in 2 jumps, a small road like that in the middle of it isn't going to be much for something like that, So it.
Yeah, when I turned, he probably could have just got up and hopped one hop, and he was already in the woods.
Yeah, and you're not going to see anything after that. It being pitch black out as well. So.
Yeah. And it was so foggy that night. Like, I think if I wouldn't have been on a mountain road, I probably would have been like a twisty turny road. I probably would have been going a lot faster. But because of it being a twisty turny road, I wasn't going as fast. And I don't think like how foggy it was. Had I not been going slow, I probably would have hit it. It would have been, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been so late by the time I got to it. It would, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, it was so foggy that night because it had rained. It was humid, and in the mountains, it was just very foggy. I remember that too. And like, it just being so foggy. And once when my headlights, my high beams could see it, or maybe no, I think I had my low beams on because of the fog. I don't know, but whenever my headlights hit it, that's when I saw it and stopped. It wasn't like my head, we came around the corner and as we're starting to drive, it was right there,
Right.
Like in a spot where I feel like you would have to stop or you were going to hit it, like any car coming around that corner. And here's the thing. The way that road is when you come around that corner where that dog was, it's a hill going down. So a car coming up would have had to stop because right there's the dog, and a car coming my way, the way I was going, had to stop because there's the dog. You know what I mean? Like, so it was in like a perfect spot
to
stop people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy how you just take the time to, you have something very strange happen, and like it could have been, very well, it could have been a hellhound, like you said at first. But then you start to look at the situation and kind of really that, just stop and get get a whole different perspective. It makes a little more sense sometimes. So, I mean,
Yeah,
who knows? It still
because I
could have
would have
been a
never thought
hellhound.
of that.
Yep. Yeah, and how you
But
described it, its hair was not, shaggy, but it was, and like I said to you, that all dog men don't look alike. There's different, they have different characteristics, like human beings, just because one is a different, they're very different. So there's been multiple different colored eyes. It could have had black eyes, like the first one that
well,
you
whatever
saw.
I saw on the trampoline, yeah, that thing, it had to have had black eyes because you couldn't see its eyes at all. It was like a big black mask, basically,
Right.
just dark, And this one, there was no eye shine to it at all. I saw it because, I my lights hit it, and there was this dog, and like the thing I remember most about this dog was its ears were very much on the top of its head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know how Anubis's ears are? That's exactly what it reminded me of. Like very tall, but almost on the top of its head, but looked kind of like a German Shepherd, but not shaggy hair. You know what I mean? Like almost like a dog, like a beagle's hair. Like I explained, you know what I mean? Like how their hair's a little longer, but not like
Right.
short-haired dogs.
Yep.
Kind of like that. Like you could see the texture, kind of, like the hair, the black hair. You could see the hair, but it wasn't like shiny or or whatever or grungy looking. It just looked like a dog with hair. You know what I mean? Like a normal dog, just like bigger and weird ears.
Yeah. For some reason, it just resonates with me that it could have been, but you will never know. And thank God that you'll never know. That's how you got to look at it. Thank God I'll never know what the heck that was. So.
Oh yeah, that's so scary actually.
Yeah,
now that I think about it, I think about like I'm not even worried about that one. I'm about what was around us.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure if there was one, there was probably more.
Absolutely.
But
I appreciate you. Don't hang up. I want to end the interview real quick, but don't hang up. I appreciate you coming on.
Okay.
Thank you for taking your time. I know it was
hard.
Thank
you for letting me share.
No, I know it was hard when we first started talking. Before we did the interview, it was definitely a hard thing for you to share. You haven't really shared it with that many people besides your mom. So I appreciate you just reaching out and coming on and sharing, and having being able to look at it in a different perspective. Like, hey, this, instead of having your mindset that was a hellhound. I appreciate that too. Like,
well,
very good
I'm not
mind.
I'm not any expert, so I don't know if you can necessarily be an expert, but
right.
So, I mean, it's good to hear another point of view because then it, kind of helps me think about now. I don't have to get I've been mulling this over in my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
All these things that have happened, and especially, well, I guess I think, like I said, I think I've regressed some of them. I kind of blocked them all out, and then I was listening to something, and something triggered it, and then I just started thinking about it, and that's all I thought about. Thinking about it every day. Am I missing something? Did I see something? You know what I mean? I'd lay down to go to sleep and kind of an insomniac anyway. So, I'd lay down and all I'm doing is thinking about these things over and over. Like, what happened? What was really going on?
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, all right. Don't hang up. Thank you for coming on, and say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, dog fam.
All right, guys. Definitely two creepy encounters. And when you think about it and you break it down, it almost doesn't make sense on, like we were talking. She's like, my stepdad was making excuses. And the more she kept sharing and talking to me, the way my brain works is I'm constantly questioning things. I don't know why anymore, but I never was like that, but now I am. And then when she shared what she thought was a hellhound, and it might have been. It may have been a hellhound. It may have been a Dogman. We will never know. But a lot of it just is coincidental to too many other cases that I've talked about, or that we've had people share. So I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you, and be kind to each other, because it's a cruel, cruel world. With that, farewell and see ya!